Guys, most of you already know me, so I'm Ed. And what we're going to talk about is pretty much what your signature says about you, right? So it's some people believe that your signature reveals a lot of the character traits that we have. And I got drawn into this about a decade and a half ago. It was kind of interesting to see how people's handwriting can change throughout their lives and what it can say about a person, right? And so we're going to talk about that. Let me share my screen, just a little bit of background about the science of graphology. So this guy right here, this gentleman over here, in 1897, he's the guy who actually coined the term graphology. And this is Jean-Hippolyte Michon. And he combined two Greek words, graphene and logos, which is to write, and science. So the science of writing, I guess, right? And he also was the founder. He founded the Society of Graphology, and the first person to actually give this thing scientific grounds, right? Handwriting analysis. Now, is it really a science, you ask? And some frown upon it and say that it's this is absurd and it shouldn't be a science. Others suggest it's pretty cool actually that it's reliable and accurate, right? What I suggest you do
Что вы делаете?
is you
И что,
go ahead.
попробуйте?
Once again, come again. Someone said something I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. It's okay. So what I suggest you do is do your own analysis. Throughout the years, you're going to take a look at different signatures, and you're going to see what these indicators are, whether or not they are reliable, accurate, or whatnot. So that's what I've done, and that's what I rely on. So I'm going to share with you today some of the biggest indicators that are indicative of someone's behavior more often than not, right? Are you guys with me so far?
Yes. Now I've
Okay.
muted everyone,
Yeah.
so we're all with you. We love it. Keep going.
Okay. I'll let you guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna let you decide, of course, if you think it's reliable, accurate, or should be taken with a grain of salt, right? It's just entertainment. So these scribbles over here we have. What makes up the science of grammar? What does it consist of, right? So we have handwriting analysis, which is actually more accurate if you ask a graphologist, right? So it's a lot more accurate. It takes a look at a deep dive into the real persona, right? So it takes a deep dive into all aspects of a person's life. It's also used in criminal investigations, not only for forged signatures, but also not only for forensic analysis. So it's used by a number of experts that assess a criminal's. They can be many things in someone's handwriting that are indicative of mania or other, psychological illnesses. So signature analysis. So this is your public persona, guys. So I want to talk about this point. I think it's quite crucial to talk about this, quite important, because here's the thing with signature this is how you present yourself to the world. This is your public persona, and this is how you want to be seen by others. And the way it relates to English is a lot of times I don't see teachers talking about this. When you speak English, you have a language ego. Okay, you have a certain persona that you're building about yourself. I think this is a crucial part of your language learning process. And I'm just taking an off ramp here, I know, but so my wife's been learning English for a number of years now, for 6 years, but unfortunately, she's not making the progress, leaves much to be desired. And the reason being is because she sees herself as someone who is not that proficient in English, who's not that, she just sees herself as a Russian person speaking English at home. You understand what I mean? So I have students who really excel in language learning, and the way they see themselves is completely different. But it involves a lot of pain because you're going to make mistakes along the way. And they ask themselves very important questions. How does the world see me? And what would a native speaker say in this situation, this or that situation? So this is coming back to signatures, signature analysis, or your signature is how you present yourself to the world. It does not necessarily mean the real persona, but it has a lot of clues. Now, some graphologists don't analyze signatures alone. So they want a combination of handwriting analysis and signature to get a full picture. And most of them would ask you to do it on a blank piece of paper. Most of them would definitely ask you to do that. Your signature is the part of your handwriting that can reveal or tell about many aspects of your personality. It is a reflection, just like a mirror. If you know how to read these clues, it's just like a mirror, and it reveals many clues. So let's dig in. Okay, so we're talking about, this is one of the biggest indicators in my opinion. So this is what you look at, the size of someone's signature. All right, an extreme example is Donald Trump over here. Okay, he's very aggressive. He's very self-assured, confident. These people are usually, people who have large signatures. If it's too large, they are sometimes big-headed and arrogant. Okay, so this is almost always, this indicator is so accurate. So if it's too large, if you look at these extremes, right? And well, with Donald Trump, he's also a little aggressive, right? So some graphologists see aggression. But generally speaking, a large signature says that you are a confident person, that you're outgoing, you are an extrovert, assertive, say something and, that's the way it's got to be, or, And so here's a little bit of English grammar. The bigger your signature, the comparatives, right? The more confident the person is. Of course, we also want to compare it to the person's handwriting to see what the ratio is there. But most of the time, it is a good indicator. For me, it's one of the best indicators. Medium signatures, well-balanced, down-to-earth, realistic, modest, humble. Right? So these people, they don't get bent out of. Yeah, I got the echo, but no, I believe there was an echo. Small signatures. Now, this is something you want to pay attention to because if you have a small signature, you're kind of shy, you're introverted, and you tend to have low self-esteem. And a friend of mine used to say, you got to do esteemable acts in order to have self-esteem. So sometimes you got to take a look at this. Now, what's interesting is I had been analyzing my dad's signature, and what happened throughout his life as he got ill, his signature got smaller, and my mom's signature was small. So their signatures was becoming alike as years went by. This was very interesting to me because these people, they lived together for 40 years, happily married couple, and these traits, they kind of blended. And that was very, very interesting to me. And so your signature can also change depending on what kind of a mood you're in, and depending on different stages of your life, right? So it can, just as your character changes sometimes. Not radically, but yeah, so far so good. You guys can maybe let's talk about the legibility of your signature. Now, a lot of people think if my signature legibility, someone can, if it's readable, basically. If your signature is legible, someone can easily read it, right? And A lot of people think, oh, if my signature is not legible, then I'm a bad person. Well, nothing could be farther from the truth, guys. Legible, it's just, we're talking about signatures here. And Chris may be in a hurry and we just scribble something down. It's like, scribbles. We're talking about these types of, also, we're talking about doctors, lawyers, and people who are generally in a hurry. But generally speaking, people who have a legible signature, like Leo Tolstoy, this is his original signature, they're pretty straightforward. They're straight shooters, organized, they're socially open. Generally speaking, they have nothing to hide. Leo Tolstoy, there's also a big gap between his last name and his first name, and that sometimes can indicate that he keeps his personal life personal, and his private life is private, and his public life, he keeps it separate from. And Leo Tolstoy, well, he lived outside of St. Petersburg. He lived in the countryside, as far as I know. And yeah, he did tend to keep these two of his aspects of his life separate. So, yeah, illegible signature, well, the person could be disorganized, indecisive. Is this the strongest the indicator? I don't think so, but you should keep in mind that these things might be at play here. Okay, private person, at times careless, but also let's talk about the positives. Quick-minded, okay, creative, imaginative, and witty. It's one of my favorite character traits. Those of you who speak Russian, остроумный, like witty, they got wit. So yeah, also it might be a sign that the person is less likely to take responsibility for their actions. But like I said, the illegible part is not the biggest indicator you want to rely on. Okay, so moving on to the angle. Now this is an indicator that I really pay attention to. The angle of your signature. Now this thing can change depending on your mood, depending on what's going on in your life. This thing can change, and that's very interesting. Every morning I take my son to school. He's in kindergarten, and we have to sign what do we call this? Syllabus, roster, right? We have to sign that, to basically to check.
Yeah.
Yes, attendance, absolutely. That's not, they don't have a syllabus or roster. So when I sign my name, depending on what my mood is like, so that angle may change just slightly. There may be a slight change. So if you notice that about yourself, if you have an ascending signature or rising signature, right, it generally means that this is a strong indicator that you're an optimistic person, ambitious, you're a forward thinker, and you have a positive attitude. And sometimes what I mean by positive attitude, what I see a lot of times is these people who have a rising signature, when they are faced with difficulties, they don't get disheartened. Okay, when they fall, they get up, they brush themselves off, and they keep walking. Because that's something that I notice. They don't easily get disheartened when faced with difficulties. Now, horizontal, what I noticed that a lot of US presidents, politicians, perhaps even people, college professors, perhaps even people who have a quote unquote responsible job, they are well balanced and have a horizontal signature there. They're organized, satisfied with the way life is going. Okay, they don't get out of balance. They don't get bent out of worked up about something. So this is something you want to pay attention to also. Now, this is something you really want to pay attention to. If the signature is descending, okay, if it's going down, and these people are usually pessimistic, okay, they have low self-esteem, and sometimes it can be, like I said, it can be because you're going through a rough patch in life. You're having a hard time, right? And you might want to consider changing. This is graphotherapy, which we will talk about. Whether or not it works is another question. Worth bearing in mind, yeah, I've mentioned this. So Your signature may change depending on how you're feeling. So this is Albert Einstein. We'll come back to some of these signatures. As you can see, for a graphologist, okay, this is already like rising a lot. So for a graphologist, so they measure it, and it's obvious. And this one I would consider to be horizontal, even though the last name is descending. So sort of. And yeah, there are many clues here, a lot of clues about this is Bill Clinton's signature. Okay, embellishments. Okay, when you, I know a lot of us here are English learners. So what embellishments are basically when you bake a cake, right? You embellish it with I don't know, strawberries, cherries, nuts, right? And what these embellishments actually are is how we embellish a signature. Like, as you can see, Paul McCartney here, and you see this squiggly underscore here. And a lot of times, these curricules and long lines at the end, the hearts, like we'll go over Paris Hilton somewhere. She's here. I believe she's here somewhere. Paris Hilton, these hearts. A lot of times, these, okay, let me make it a little bigger. A lot of times these are these what we call embellishments. So the more embellishments your signature has, the more complicated the person is. It can be with their sex life, it could be with humor, it could be with, you know, with so is this the biggest the strongest thing that I look at, the indicator that I look at? No, but it's something definitely to keep in mind with this embellishment. Here it can also as you can see Sean Connery's signature here, you can see it's descending. We talked about that. It's descending, it's going down. And you know, when you look at Sean Connery's face, he's kind of gloomy guy, right? And so his signature's always going down. It was like, and you look at Tom Hanks, and when we talked about faced with difficulties, well, Tom Hanks was one of the first people who got sick with COVID, you know, got COVID, and he was very open about it. He was very positive about it. We'll get through this. He and his wife. I mean, no one knew what it was like, and no one knew what it was. Actually, it was a monster that we hadn't heard about before. So yeah, those things. Paul McCartney. Some graphologists say that these curricules here, the underscore, and the underscores we'll talk about separately. Now, I don't want to talk too much. You guys can stop me at some point. So the more embellishments, the more complicated. You want to avoid this circle or any kind of circle around your signature. You want to avoid. The reason you want to avoid these loops, okay, because you're protecting yourself. You're like protecting yourself, okay? You're being overprotective, and you might want to avoid it. This is another part of graphotherapy, meaning graphotherapy is if you change your signature, your character might follow, okay? Is it is it true? Does it work? Well, I don't know, but you're not, you know, it's worth a shot. You're not, you know, it doesn't ask anything of you, just a little bit of awareness when you're signing your name, right? Wavy lines, sense of humor, like with Paul McCartney here, right? Let's continue to where we are at is underlined signatures. Now, this is an indicator that most of the time is a telltale sign that somebody it's a clear sign that someone says, look, I'm either a prominent person or I think I'm a prominent person and I should become one. We had a friend. This is actually the only family we're friends with here. And Ruslan, and I looked at his signature and he had this underscore. And well, he didn't have any kind of a job. He wasn't a famous person but about a year later, he got promoted and he's now selling, he's now a very, you know, he's doing real estate. He's doing it in big numbers. So is it connected? Well, yeah, like I said, I'm doing my own research with these things. I'm studying people's signatures. I'm looking at it, and yes, This is a telltale sign. If someone uses 2 underscores, well, they may be a little too aggressive. They may be like, oh, I'm not recognized. I'm doing all this stuff and nobody's recognizing me, right? So perhaps they have low self-esteem and they have a greater desire for attention. But avoid this one that's going back. So that one is indicative of the fact that you want to look in the, you dwell over the past a lot. Yes. Now, I would definitely avoid crossing my name in a signature in any way. So I would definitely avoid this crossing. If you can see this crossing your name, we'll talk about it separately, but I would definitely avoid crossing because, well, for obvious reasons, but there have been cases where people many cases where people left a suicide note and a lot of times they cross their name. So it's self-sabotage. It's a tendency to hurt oneself. So subconscious. And here we get to the part signature. This is that note from a girl in India who left a suicide note, and then she crossed her name several times, as you can see. And yeah, and this one is going back. It's underscored, but it's going back, and a graphologist could see this clearly, right? So you might want to avoid that also because you don't want to dwell on the past. You don't want to overthink about the past. The past is the past. It's not real. Done. So you might want to avoid striking through your signature, loops over a signature, extremely small signatures, traced back like this one, all caps like Donald Trump. So, and he's very aggressive. He's like going like so. Yeah, it might be a prominent person, but I doubt that he's very happy because these people. And it's possible. My dad was a very aggressive person, very self-assertive, had a very big signature, but he did a lot of work. And he kind of, I don't know, it's very rare, but a person can change. And it's incredible how he was able to channel that energy in the right direction sometimes. And miraculous things happen if you can channel that energy in the right direction, because it's energy. It's like what Donald Trump is doing is just like, he's just going from, it takes a lot of energy to do that, especially for, Let's see, do we have any more pages here? Yeah, incomplete signatures. So generally speaking, they say that your first name is the representation of your private self, and your last name is your public self. Okay, and again, generally speaking, this is not the strongest indicator. Initials say that you are pretty secretive and independent. Yeah, but you saw my signature. I mean, it's just could it be that I'm a private person when it comes to my private self? Could it be? Yes. I mean, yeah, I don't like to share a lot of things, but then again, with people that I interact with, I'm pretty open, straightforward. So that's at work. So and you have to look at this. So I hope I'm not confusing you guys here. The more space there is between your first and last name, with Tolstoy we talked about, the more you wish to keep these two parts of your personality separate. And a lot of famous people, a lot of famous businessmen have just a nickname, Woz, for example, here. So Steve Wozniak, with one of the Apple founders, the legend. You see Paul McCartney, I don't know a lot about Paul McCartney, but yeah, the graphologists suggest to avoid this one. But that's a general thing. Like I said, it's not something I've studied. It's not something when I say I've studied, is that throughout the years I just looked at people's signature and compare them to what the facts are. Tom Hanks, looked at this just now. Jeff Bezos, and Picasso is kind of cool. Look at this, guys. Look at Picasso's signature. Most of his signatures are very similar. it's not just ascending, it's not just rising, it's just going to the sky, and that's the number one thing. Number two, Picasso Picasso is sort of, this is how he's presenting himself to the world, right? And he's saying, look, here's my business card. This is like, I'm an artist. Look, everything I say about myself. Same thing with Paris Hilton. You know, she's got that heart, those embellishments that we talked about. Now, yeah, I'm gonna go to your I'm gonna go to your questions and make this a little more. I'm sorry it took so long for me to get through this presentation. So if you guys have any questions, why don't you go ahead and, or Chris, do you have any questions? Do you want to?
Well,
Kick
this
things
is
off.
super interesting. I just made a signature now to see, and I realize I have an incomplete signature, and I have just sort of, it's all first and last name are all together. I think it might be interesting. First of all, yeah, you can unmute yourself and ask a question if you want. And then I think it would be interesting for those who are interested to submit your signature. Now, how we can do that is going to be a bit tricky. I think what you can do is, if you send it to me on Instagram privately, I will forward it to Ed. And then Ed, can you upload? Are you able to upload that onto the Power?
Yeah, definitely. But they can't use the chat, right? They can't use the chat, or what?
I don't think
use
they can
files
send.
in the chat.
Can they send a photo in the chat? Let's take a look.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's possible.
So go ahead and send it in the chat. Make a signature, take a photo of it if you want your signature read. If you want it anonymous, then send it to me privately or send it to Ed privately, and he will not include your name. So as you wish. I have a question, Ed. What does your, let's just go back to you. Let's start with you. Can you go back to your signature and tell us what that says about you? Let's start with you. I'm curious.
Well, it's very much like I kept this Russian, as you can see, this is a Russian B. So this signature is a copy of my dad's signature, pretty much. I used to forge my father's signature when we were in America. He lived well, most of the year he spent in the Czech Republic, and we were, as kids, we were in America, and I used to use this credit card a lot. This is a funny story. I just used to forge his signature, of course, with his permission. I mean, but
Yeah.
so yeah. As far as this E goes, now sometimes my E is different, and that would actually, sometimes my E is, how would I do this? Yeah, sometimes my E is like this, and it's with a dot. What it says is, maybe you guys, let me see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, probably not. Let's see. Yeah, sometimes my E is like this, and it's with a dot. Of course, these double lines, ignore the double lines. So it's on days when I'm a little more, and it's subconscious, of course. It's on days where, so this one is talking about how open you are, how friendly you are, this E right here, okay? And this one's more aggressive. Does that make sense? Yeah. So this one's more aggressive. And when it comes to this last part of my signature, with these rules, I often hide things about myself. I don't, certain parts of, even in my private life, certain parts of I am secretive about, right? And certain parts I'm not. And there's a dot missing here. I usually end it with a dot like this. So there's usually a dot, and that can also mean, and the underscoring is probably indicative of the fact that I think I am undervalued, right? So this is kind of personal, but I think I'm kind of undervalued, and
Not here, you're not here.
No, I'm just, it's like, yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. What about, I see something in the chat. I see an image, so let's take a look at it.
Yeah, go for it. This is
let's take a look at it. Go and find her. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. What can you guys tell me about it? first, what can you guys, let's see what you guys can tell me about it. We don't, yeah, with the graphologist, they would ask you about the age of the person and gender, okay, gender, because they're not psychics, they're not fortune tellers, right? So, and here, if we look at it, what can you guys look at it? So first thing we look at it is size, I'm sorry. We look at size of the signature, right? Compared to their writing. I look at, a lot of times, I look at it if it's ascending or descending. So what I'm going to say is this person might be a musician, okay, might play a musical instrument, right? And tell me if I'm wrong. This person might be a musician. I love the fact that this E right here, right? So that it's and it might show a sense of humor as well. Of course, the biggest indicator here is that the signature is rising, and the person is positive. Doesn't most of the time. And I don't know whether it was because of this presentation or it's usually this way. So the person is positive, usually assertive, confident, right? Healthy confidence. Let's see. What do we have? The embellishments. I love the embellishments, actually. That it could be a sense of humor. It could be musical talent. I'm betting on, my money is on musical, some kind of musical instrument, and it's connected with music. Now you guys tell me if I was off there or not. Oh, nobody's gonna cop to it.
Olga, what do you think?
Olga.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Olga.
I don't play musical instrument, but any of musical instruments, but it's one of my dreams. So I would like to do it one day.
Well, that's interesting. All right. And when you're faced with difficulties, do you easily get disheartened?
I suppose more positive. So I try to, I try to avoid depression and some heavy thoughts and dark thoughts in my life.
What about, let me ask you a question. Positive attitude, optimistic, right? So don't easily get, and are you a forward thinker? Are you someone who, who's a forward thinking person?
Thinking what about the future, or optimistic, or both, maybe?
Well, it's somewhat. It's both. Actually, it's both, right? So it's you would think outside the box. A lot of time you'd think outside the box, and you would also be you were kind of progressive, right? Forward-looking, forward-thinking person, right? So
I suppose so. I think more about the future than about the past.
More about the future than about, or how the present is going to affect that future. Okay, I got it. All right. Do we have something in the chat? Let's take a look.
We've got 3 more signatures. Now, I've sent one anonymously. Someone asked me not to publish their name. So we've got an anonymous one and 2 that will answer your questions.
All right, here's what we got. The second one that was in the chat. Let's take a look at it. Now, one thing I see here is, guys, I see a dollar sign. Okay, so I'm not gonna speculate. Sometimes, I'm not saying it's the strongest indicator, but sometimes when you see sort of like a dollar sign, it's either, well, this one also looks like a connection with music as well, but as well as when we start something, we tend to finish it. We have a tendency to bring it to a conclusion, right? And it might be that the person, I'm not saying is obsessed with money, no, but that money is an important part as far as the dollar sign goes. I don't know how much the dollar sign means to the person, but so, yeah. Or again, what we see, again, guys, what we see is a rising signature, right? So that's for me, that's the beautiful thing, right? So a lot of times we are optimistic, and we, Is that, you guys tell me if I was off there or not. The O's are not very open.
Kate,
It could be a
you want
sense
to
of humor.
comment?
It could.
Yeah. Thank you, Edward, for your feedback of my signature. But this vertical line, it doesn't mean any money. I tried to show my first letter of my surname in Russian. So, but maybe you're right. Money is not on the first place in my life, but it's pretty important for me to have money. So, and also I played the piano when I was younger, when I was at school. Yeah. And you said something about feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, I try to finish everything.
Yeah, completing a task. When you start a task, you usually tend to finish it. Yeah, you bring it to, bring it to fruition. You finish the task when you start it.
It's true, I suppose.
Because also one more thing I might add is creativity. That I might be off here, but we might want to consider creativity and quick-minded person, right? Quick-minded, imagination, creativity. How is it there? Were we off? Creative on the creative side?
I'm not sure about my creativity.
Not sure.
And quick-minded, it depends. And also, I'd like to add that now my signature is rising, but sometimes when I maybe not in a good mood, my signature is more horizontal.
Oh, interesting. It's fascinating, guys. This is fascinating stuff once you become aware of it, right? And yeah, so interesting. Wow. Absolutely fascinating.
But I have never noticed about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I know a little bit more.
And compared to the rest of your writing, is it big, or what about the size of the signature? Is it big or medium size, I would say, right?
I think that it's like a tend to be a medium.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good. So where are you on the well-balanced side? Modest or humble side? Does any of those traits match? Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's go to the next.
Well balanced, actually.
Well balanced. Well balanced. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. And we have, guys, we have an interesting one over here. Now, you guys.
Now, this one's anonymous, so the person won't give feedback. So, Ed, you can just give your, what you see. It
is anonymous. So it's as we can see, guys, it's a rising signature. So I'm happy to see that. I'm always happy to see a rising signature, right? And my God, this is a large. So you can see the letters, especially the first initial, the first name, if it is a first name, is larger, is pretty big. So the person is confident, perhaps assertive, right? Could be an extrovert, right? Now here's what we have, here's where we have a problem, guys. So we see this. We talked about this loop going over here. We talked about this loop over here, that it's indicative of a person being self-protective, protecting themselves, right? But at the same time, what we see is that the person's signature is large. So they are confident, they are self-assured, perhaps dominant, right? And when it comes to the legibility, like as mentioned before, I don't think it's the most accurate indicator. However, yeah, this is indicative of someone being a little self-protective. Now, whether or not I was right or not, and that can be a question, but these O's are a little small. So this one might be an interesting interesting signature, interesting to do a analysis with a complete handwriting. Might be very interesting to be taken a look at this way. So I got these are the telltale signs, so to speak, right? Big.
Hi, Ed.
And it's open.
Ed.
Hi. Oh,
you nailed it. You nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes.
I got goosebumps. Oh, thank you. Wow. Wow.
You nailed
Wow.
it. Perfect. That's me.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so what we want to do is, I mean, we don't want to do it, but it's what I did with my signature, guys. And I've made so many transitions in my life. I am a guinea pig. I mean, what you would call a guinea pig. So I've done so many experiments on my body, with my psyche, with different meditations, etc. So I believe that a person can change. I believe that it's one of the most impossible things, but that a person can change. And if graphotherapy can help, just being a little self-protectiveness, this loop. If graphotherapy can help, it has helped a lot of people. I want to give it a shot. I want to change it. At the very least, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to kill you, right? So yes.
Thank you.
Least. So yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that in me. It's like there's this famous analyst from the dawn of the century, last century, the W.D. Gahn. I don't know if you guys have heard about him, but and he looked at life cycles, and he quoted Ecclesiastes a lot of times in the Bible, and says, "There's nothing new under the sun. Everything just tends to repeat itself, and people's characters as well, people's behavior patterns." But I believe that once we become aware of the fact that we are in predetermined cycle, I believe that's when we have a chance to change the cycle. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense. Once you become aware of it, and a lot of times it's
Yes.
we slip back. So
maybe we'll
that's
look at
cool.
a few
Yes, I
more.
know
We've got a few more.
We're looking. Yeah, I'm just. Oh my God! No, I am not. I am not qualified. Yeah. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So again, we're talking about that loop. Same thing, guys. It's I'm going to say the same thing. It's the person's being a little protective, but as you can see, there's space here.
We can't see the new one yet. So you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see it now? Yeah, and this is someone who is, I would say, someone who is very private, and someone perhaps with something that has to do with art, musical talent, right? Sense of humor, all of the above, right? So, and the protection part, the size of the signature, from what I see, is not very large, medium size, medium to small, maybe medium. Yeah. And that's all I can. But I see an exclamation mark here, which is I might not be reading that correctly, but I see an exclamation mark. The person is exclaiming their name and saying, "Look, all these lines. This is this is the most I'm going to give you. This is all you're going to get about me, right?" And in art, music, all of the above, maybe. Right, and protective. You guys tell me if I'm off there. You guys, by you guys, I mean one of you guys.
Rabin.
Signed it. If it's anonymous, that's fine. If it's anonymous.
No, Rabin, do you have any?
I'm not a musician, but I'm a musician, but I'm artist and I'm drawing and painting. It's very professional at painting.
And I think very sensitive. So I think, Ed, you got that one. And you nailed that one too. I would describe Rabin as positively very sensitive. So I think you nailed it. Well done. We've got some difficult ones ahead. I don't know how you're going to look at these next two.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Okay. All right. What do we got here?
Wow.
Okay, this is a nickname. For as far as I can see, it's a nickname, and it's Nick. As far as I can read it, it's the first initial, and it's a nickname. It's underscored. It's underscored, as we talked about before, guys. So underscoring your signature would mean that you either are someone important and prominent, or you think you should be. God damn it! Darn it! Sorry about my French here. So yeah, I think, or you think you should be. So that's and a lot of times, as we saw with Wozniak's signature, right? It's a sign of an independent person. You guys tell me if I was off there or not. Oh, you got by you guys. I mean,
how close is he with your independence and your? Is she here? Here she is.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, that's right. You said right about me.
No way, you guys are killing me. No way. Thank you so much. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Any feedback? Any other comment here, or should we go on to the next one? It was great stuff. And I suppose I haven't done many, but I suppose these little subtle points are also subject to interpretation. And this also this over here, it says a lot, but I am not qualified enough at this point in time to say what it is. So I'm not gonna say it. So, but very positive, outgoing, perhaps an extrovert, right? And likes to be around people. Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. Well, should we go to the next one? Should we go to the next one? Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. Well, thank you. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is an interesting signature. Again, I'm going to say something that you guys may or may not be right, and I'm going to say something about this person that adheres to rules. Okay, when it comes to rules, this person follows them and doesn't break them very often. Okay, well, I'm going to say well balanced, and slightly rising signature if we look at it from this angle. And I'm going to say a little self-protective, guys, a little unsure and a little pessimistic. So you guys tell me if I was right. I mean, by you guys, I mean one of you, of course. So
hello, it's my signature, and I'd like to say that you're right, 100%.
Oh my God! Oh my God! But you also Yeah.
No, I think we have I think you have a second career blossoming.
Transition, like a transition right here. That's cool. Yeah, and also I like to say, maybe I see, if not religion, then spirituality. If not religion, then spirituality. So I know I'm all over the place, but I would say, yeah, in the old days I would say religion, but now it's probably spirituality.
Not religion, but
spirituality. Yeah, spiritual person. Yes, because we see, guys, you see what's happening here. It's like we're extending up, and we're saying, okay, there's something above me. There's a higher power. There's a higher power.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Well, thank you. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure here. I'm looking in a chat. What else we have? Nothing.
We don't have anything at the moment, but maybe someone has a question or two before we wrap.
Yeah, please, guys. Yeah. About that language ego, I have a question. When you guys watch movies in your native language and you hear profanity or someone cussing, right? And then you watch it in English. how does it come off to you? Is it the same thing? Does it have the same kind of effect, or do you interpret it the same way? Because that has to do with how you interpret a foreign language and what your language ego is, and kind of, or is it kind of, for me, it's kind of when
people feel profanity. Is that the question?
When they are, well, for example, that's one of the biggest examples, right? When you're watching a movie in your native language, and you hear people cussing, and it's like, whoa! But in English, it's kind of okay.
Yeah. So let me explain, because not everyone knows what cussing or profanity is. So profanity and cussing mean bad words. When you say bad words in your language or in English, go for it, Ed. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm just giving an extreme example, right? And a lot of times when we speak English, or when we are signing our name, when we speak English, this is the way we are presenting ourselves to the world, right? And when we speak English, we have a different persona, guys. Notice that also. Not only your signature changes, but also your the way you interpret things when you are watching it in English, or the way you speak, the way you make decisions. And numerous studies have confirmed this, right? So, but if you have questions, please, I just wanted to point that out for a second. I see Zareyan. Yeah, no questions? No questions? Natalie, no questions? Olga?
Please, may I ask you? You've talked about science, but what about just writing? Or maybe we can say something about greediness, or about a person, or how not greedy, but how generous he is, just watching his writing or signature.
Stingy or generous, yeah, generosity, or stingy or economical or parsimonious, yeah. Yeah, that can be, but I would take a look at the person's that can be. You would have to look. Let me get the blur out of the way. So you would have to look. A lot of times, what it is when you're looking at a person's handwriting and how they are using this space over here, for example, right? So a lot of people, what they do, they leave a big gap, and some people are very, they're trying to fit everything on a page. So that can be that's a good question. That is a good question. So yeah, that's one of the indicators. But you would have to look at the person's handwriting on the whole when you see their handwriting, their letters. Letters are great. I mean, this is for a number of years, I wrote letters, and then when I worked with a therapist here in Russia, she made me write letters to famous people, asking for answers. And that's actually how I decided to have a blog on Instagram after receiving. And then I wrote these letters as if I was writing from that person. I wrote back to my own self. That was my own therapy, and it was very interesting. And the answer was, why don't you open a blog, and why don't you start making videos here and there? Yeah. So letters are powerful, guys. Writing is powerful. It's just the exercise was asking for experts, questions that bother you, that you want to have answers to. And then after meditation, sitting down and writing back to yourself from, as if you are one of those experts. It's a powerful, powerful technique. I haven't done it for years now, and I intend to do it again. It's incredible, guys. It's incredible what you're writing at that point in time, because you have an alter ego. What you're writing is not coming out of your mind, so to speak, right? It's like it's really incredible. So I was fixing this. I was installing a heater here, and it's a powerful question. What would my uncle do? My uncle is he used to be a university professor, but he's also a handyman. He's really good with things, with building things. He has built houses and stuff. And I'm like, What would my uncle do? How would my uncle solve this problem? And the answer comes. The answer comes to you. What would the native speaker say in that situation? I know it's painful. I know it's a lot of work, but asking that question is a powerful way of approaching, of tackling the problem, guys. Because you're gonna make mistakes. And I have an egg on my face a lot of times, a couple of years back. It's okay. And it's okay. It's like part of the process. But the reason you experience that pain because you took a risk. You're taking a risk by being here. I'm taking a risk. And unless we take those risks, there's not going to be any forward-looking anything. No progress. Right? So small risks. Go ahead, questions. Question. I got a question maybe for Rabin. Rabin, when it comes to art, it's becoming increasingly popular now. It's becoming, actually, people are investing in art. There are ETFs and there are funds people use. When it comes to art, which is more important, being a good artist or having someone who promotes it for you? Because having read a little bit about it, just want to get your thoughts on that. But it's off topic, so there's a lot of people. So just a short kind of thing. What's more important?
I think arts in when I born it, we lived with me. No one touch me, teach me. No one teach me. And I learned it by myself, and my brother, my sister, artist. Yeah.
No one taught you this. Wow, interesting. Yeah. So self-taught. You're self-taught. Wow, interesting. Wow. All right, man. Well, best of luck to you on your journey to success. What else do you guys have? Do you guys have questions? Graphology questions.
Well, I think if we don't have any questions, and maybe we'll use this moment to thank Ed for enlightening us on an aspect of self-identity that I don't think many of us have considered very seriously previously. So I think we would, as I mentioned, I think we will look at our signatures differently, and others as well, thanks to this very provocative and enlightening discussion. I want to thank you, Ed, for very well organized, very well structured, very interesting, and some really spot on sleuthing at the end by breaking down people's signatures. I don't know how we do this, but I'm going to give Ed a round of applause. Ed, great job, and thank you so much for coming. If you guys have any questions afterwards,
plus.
I will. We're going to put Ed's as we do with all special events.
Yeah, questions. Do you guys want that PDF? If you guys, how can we?
I will put the PDF in the platform. I'll give Ed access to the platform so that he can answer any questions. If you guys have a question later, he'll be able to answer you personally, and we'll put that PDF in the platform as well. I'll show Ed where that's at. So thank you, everyone, for coming, and have a great evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you. All you. I appreciate you. Wow.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.